Hey, Rolling Out family. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that is dominating the headlines, confusing a lot of people, but has the potential to impact a lot of folks' pockets, and that's tariffs. We're going to talk about how they're impacting our economy and our businesses. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or someone thinking about global trade, understanding tariffs and customs regulations can mean the difference between thriving and surviving. So joining us is someone who can break it down, talk about building pathways for our businesses to succeed in this climate. Shaquana Teasley, founder and CEO of Agate Solutions, is an international trade strategist with over 20 years of experience helping companies navigate the complexities of cross-border business. So she's actually hosting an event coming up in Atlanta, which she'll talk about later on. And it's designed to educate and empower businesses, especially those in our community, to better understand how tariffs work, how they affect your bottom line, and most importantly, what you can do about it. So let's welcome who we call Shaq to the program today. How you doing, Shaq?
I am great. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. It's sincerely appreciated.
Awesome. Well, let's just jump into it. So I want to talk a bit about your background, your journey as a global trade strategist, the founder of Agate Solutions. It's very impressive, and it's not a lot of folks who look like you in this space. So, can you tell us a little bit about your interest in it and then kind of how you are looking to use your background to educate us in the current climate?
Thank you so much. So, everyone knows me as Shaq, so feel comfortable. You know me as Shaq. So, I have been in this industry for approximately 22 years. And for most people that are in international trade, they have stumbled into this industry. I actually got my formal education in social work because I just had a love for a heart for supporting people in human service. I relocated from New York City to the Atlanta metropolitan area and learned quickly that would not be the career for me. I took a temporary position through a contracting office at a trucking company at the front desk. I really didn't have front desk personality, but I was very fortunate that a gentleman offered me a position in the back of the terminal doing export documents because the trucking company was also a freight forwarder and they were forwarding goods to only the Caribbean. And he brought me to the back of the terminal and he began to teach me the regulations that were distinct to custom policies to be able to export goods outside of the country. And I tell people all the time, do not discard the importance of documentation because every field on the document teaches you something else. And as he began to teach me documentation to the Caribbean, I began to see a whole new career available to myself. I was a temporary employee. I worked there for over a year and they were acquired by a larger company. Therefore, they were not keeping any temps, and I needed to find something different. I didn't even know what to call myself in this industry. Like, what are these titles? What are these called? But guess what? I didn't need to. I had already made a name for myself, and I began to be able to take my pick at the opportunities available to me. At that point, I went into chemicals. I went to Home Depot for home goods. I worked at Mizuno, and my last formal job before I started Agate Solutions was at Lockheed Martin, managing their international trade globally for Department of Defense systems. So my goal for international trade currently is to ensure that people have what I call the Shaq breakdown. I think that policies and regulations are overly complex. People hear these very long words and they don't know how to apply it to the actual day to day operations of their supply chain. So, what we do is very unique. We take the complexities of international trade, customs regulations, and supply chain operations, and we break that down to give a solid solution to the complexities of these different attributes that make things extremely difficult to get our goods and services moved around the world.
Got it. So the complexity of it, right? We are hearing these words thrown around in the media cycle. And can we break down, okay, tell us what is a tariff? And then what are some of the misconceptions related to people's lack of knowledge surrounding tariffs and how it will impact the consumer and the business owner?
All right, so I think that people have been seeing a rise in costs even before the new administration came into office. So people have somehow associated all of that with the importation of goods. So people even say that eggs are extremely expensive because of tariffs. We're not importing eggs, right? It's from your local farms predominantly. So that something as simple as that can really make someone make bad decisions in business and as a consumer in their day-to-day spending. So a tariff itself is also referred to as duty. Many people are very familiar with using the word duty just from vacationing to Jamaica and buying souvenirs on their way back home and going into duty-free places. But now we're talking about tariffs. And now the tariffs, people see that more in the business aspect because there are larger volumes being imported and exported around the world. So a tariff is a duty or tax that is associated with an actual good that is being imported around the world. But I would like to break that down into more simplistic terms. So right now I'm sitting in my office and I want to show you how tariffs actually work in the most simplistic form. So in front of me, I have a phone, I have a notepad, I have a mouse, among other basic office supplies. Every time any of these things are imported into the United States, they have to be assigned something called a harmonized tariff number, also referred to as a harmonized tariff schedule or harmonized code. It's called harmonized because up to the 6 digits, that number is actually harmonized throughout several countries, more than several, many countries around the entire world. That equates to a huge book of every commodity that you can think of: dogs, cats, textiles, apparel, car parts, aerospace products, earrings, hair, milk, anything you can think of has to have this coding system. The coding system itself is complicated to determine that your goods have the right code. But once you're past that, that code now tells you the percentage of the tariff that is assigned to that product. Where people get really confused in that is that they think when they hear 50% tariff, 100% tariff, that that automatically means a new price for everything. A lot of the time, these tariffs are distinct to commodities and distinct to countries, and it does not always apply to every single product. Also, the percentage is based on the value of the product. So consumers think that they're going to pay a duty based on the price of the good when they walk into their average store every day. That's not how it works. The duty is assessed on the material that is going to be valued in the country of origin, where it originates. So if my jacket came from China and the value of this jacket was $30, now think about that in a huge 20-foot container that can be valued at maybe $1 million. That value is on that percentage. Now, there is some realistic statements from consumers in regard to prices going up because of the new tariff. That's not so far-fetched. However, I think where people are confused is the commodity, the country of origin, and the routing, and all the other things that can be taken into consideration. Trade agreements. Some countries have trade agreements with the United States that may not be as impacted. And I think that is actually putting some type of fear in consumer spending. It's putting fear in where consumers want to spend their money. But for businesses, this is the time to strategize because customs has many programs that allow you to actually get duty refunds, mitigate your duties, or defer them.
Mm-hmm. And is that just for small businesses or big businesses?
It's for any importing, exporting business.
Okay. Okay. So definitely something for smaller businesses who may think they don't have the resources to do this can look into. So this isn't a topic that people previously have discussed every day. However, now it affects us in our daily conversation as people are understanding we're a consumer-driven economy. So what inspired you to create your educational platform and this event that you have coming up around tariffs and trade strategy?
So I've been in trade for about 22 years. Like I said before, it was something that found me. I didn't find it. But and I'll just be very frank and honest, as the only Shaquana that I've known in this space, it has had its challenges at every company I've ever worked. No one's unique.
Mhm.
And being the only Shaquana, people automatically assume that you have had to had something like magically handed to you in some way. And that has not been the case. It's like, well, how did you find this? How did you end up here? Because people are prepared for this many years prior. They don't, they know if they either plan for it or they stumble into it. In my particular case, I saw that I was always the only Shaquana. It was
Mhm.
very apparent to me that there was no, not just, and I would say Shaquana, I mean that also as a woman.
Mhm.
It's not dominated by women, it's not dominated by people of color. And when we hear international, it's easy to think international means it's a lot of mixed bags. That's not true.
Mhm.
So in international trade compliance and regulations and operations, which is highly complex, I was very fortunate to work with some of the largest companies that had the best supply chain solutions and to work with some of the best law firms and consultant agencies to learn how to make international trade revenue generating.
Mhm.
And in that, when I started Agate Solutions, I began first with education because it was so expensive that I found it difficult to be educated in trade, but fortunate enough to work for jobs that offered this as a benefit package.
Mhm.
So literally for $199, I started teaching 6-week courses to teach people an end-to-end solution of how goods move around the world and how tariffs are assessed.
Mhm.
That blew up quickly into an accreditation. We built a curriculum and had it accredited to offer a micro accreditation, which is now known as the Certified Global Trade Specialist.
Mhm.
The event that we have coming up is called MayDay, and it's called MayDay intentionally. We've had this event for several years, but this year is very fitting
Mhm.
because the industry is in distress and a signal needs to go out. And the
Mhm.
signal needs to go out to not just the people that are challenged, but to the experts and holding them accountable for their responsibilities to educate, direct, lead, mentor, and provide a solution and not just a complaint forum.
For sure, for sure. So hit me with the event details. We'll say it again at the end, but hit us with the event details.
So the event is MayDay Trade Summit. It's in Atlanta, Georgia on May 31st. It begins at 4 o'clock. We're also having a VIP section for people that actually want to sit with business owners and people that are in state positions as well that might want to understand different opportunities for themselves. But the point of the event is to offer a solution-based summit. People will walk out of there with some basic things that they can change in their organization immediately to help them either defer duties, mitigate duties, or be in a position to get their duties back in a refund.
Mhm. So who should come?
This event is actually wide range. Usually, when I have it, I target importers and exporters and my students, of course. This time, I think that it's crucial that people think outside the box. So, I think this event is good for people that are in purchasing,
Mm.
sourcing, warehousing, importers, exporters, people that are global business leaders or individual contributors. I think students can benefit greatly if they're looking for internships this summer as well, as there'll be a lot of businesses there.
Mm.
Ultimately, I think the key audience for this is people that need to find a solution to be able to import and export their goods and increase their profit margins at the same time.
Mhm. So what do you see as common missteps that people in business make who don't have the benefit of this education, this background, these tips from your perspective?
I think that we live in a society where people think that YouTube University is an accreditation.
That
I
part.
think we also live in a society where people have created the terminology of Googleable and they're somehow standing firm on that, like it's equivalent to an MBA. And I think that's a huge mistake because there is an interpretation of regulations. There's an interpretation of policy, and it is not simplistic. And people are using other companies' benchmarks
Mhm.
and they're using tools like Google and YouTube, and they're trying to individually create their own strategy to keep their business alive during challenging times. And no one would ever do that with their taxes, and no one would ever do that with their attorneys.
Mhm.
But they somehow think I could figure this out. And let me tell you, the negative connotations behind that is very real. Importing and exporting is just like your driver's license. It is a privilege and not a right, and it can be taken from you at any time. In addition to that, the complexities around this can really put people in a position where they don't know what they're doing. And guess what? Customs can seize your product.
Mhm.
You can lose your import or export license. They can auction your goods at a customs auction, and now
Mhm.
your intellectual property is in jeopardy. And
Mhm.
then you have fines and penalties that is tiered by negligence, gross negligence, and fraud. And
Mhm.
they will be times the amount of how much your value and or duty can potentially be. And just like that, you were trying to save money by doing it yourself, and now you no longer have a business at all, and that's public information.
Mhm.
So just like that, trying to cut corners can put your entire business in jeopardy. So it's just not worth it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And you could have just gone and went to the class that Shaq got for you.
Right.
So would you count having this trade intelligence as a part of like business training, something that people should have in their business toolkit, even if they're, maybe still doing business in the US, but they're looking to grow and they're looking to source more, from a global standpoint?
That's a great question. No one ever asked me that. And I do a lot of interviews. That is a great question because that's forward thinking. And the answer to that is absolutely. And here's why. I was an educator last year for the Department of Commerce. I was teaching their export program to help businesses export their goods to global markets. And the stories I was hearing from these businesses is that they were making hair products or beauty products, paint right here in the US, and only marketing it domestically. And then someone gets wind of this great product and they want it in another country. And guess what? They want way more volume. And just like that, your business can pivot to multiple currencies. And we all want to be able to have a diversified portfolio, right? I mean, that makes sense. And they weren't ready. And by the time they were ready, time kills all deals. I think we all would agree with that. Time can kill. I don't care how much I like you. You take too long. It's just not there anymore. I'm just not interested. It just takes too long. Right. And then that makes me look at you as a business owner that takes too long.
Mhm.
So, yes, I would agree. You need to be prepared. We always hear you need to be ready so you don't have to get ready. That's real talk.
Yes.
But also, I don't think that people can be informed uh, in business if they don't understand the basics to the global economy. That includes voters, that includes students. We cannot make informed decisions if we don't understand just the basics to how the global economy works, how
Mhm.
economy works. And I'm not saying be an economist,
Right.
but if you want to understand revenue flow from a global perspective, it would be to your benefit to understand the economic growth surrounded by that and understanding both import and export.
Right. I will tell you, I am in communications and I write and I'm more of a creative, but this is of interest to me strongly. That's why I wanted us to talk because when I think about just having, I'm an international traveler, just counseling businesses, right? I think it's something that I should have an understanding of in case I'm working with a business that, needs your services, stuff like that. I think it's critically important. And yes, I don't like math. However, this is math related to my money or somebody else's money. So it's just good to, I think, have a working knowledge and access to, foundational information as businesses grow or people grow or even just consumers. So we're not all walking around not understanding and being afraid, right? Because
Yes.
education is power.
I agree with that 100%. And I think that as global travelers, this becomes an issue
Hmm.
because I have a passport, I'm good. I'm just going to grab something at the airport and I'm going to hand carry it is good. People do not understand the terminology around the movement of people as goods and the commodities we bring in as tourists. And
Hmm.
smuggling, people make light of that. Like, I'm not moving drugs. I didn't bring in anything illegal. The fact that you are not declaring something is illegal and it is smuggling. And most of the things that people bring back is dutiable. And what happens to them a lot of times is you just get pulled for FDA or USDA or agriculture at the airport. And they run your luggage through. They thought they were just going to find your chicken and rice or whatever you brought back. And then that turns into, oh my God, you got t-shirts, you got this, you got that. And just like that, you're going backward in doing this. And then now you have to pay all those fines. You're not even getting through the airport.
Mhm.
So I think global travelers are missing an opportunity here. I think travel agents should be able to inform their clients in this capacity. I'm a
Mhm.
global business. I travel globally. I'm more savvy in my movement, but I find myself often, but by the time people get to me, it's so bad that you're like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't even know. I could dig you out of this. But when I do you have capacity for product anymore? Have you lost these business relationships? Can you meet the demand of the purchase orders? Does your buyer and seller agreement still stand? Because by the time they see they cannot Google this,
Mhm. Mhm.
they are in their business is in such detriment
Mhm. Mhm.
that you find yourself being a counselor first
Wow.
to dig somebody's spirit up
Mhm. Mhm.
before you can say, all right, let's start looking at the documents.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So you've built a business in a high barrier industry where there are not a lot of folks who look like you. Can you talk a bit about like pipeline or pathways for folks who have heard you now and might be interested in pursuing this again because it's coming up in the media. So now people are paying more attention to, hey, this is something we need to know. This could be like you carved out your own um, thought leadership and business leadership in this space. Like, what could you say to others who might be interested in this pipeline?
So I am a huge component of education. I
Mhm.
always believed in the knowledge is power. It's not just a hashtag.
Mhm.
If I did not have the skill set I had, I would not be welcomed in the places that I am where there lacks women or people that look like me or have names like me. But
Mhm.
I bring value to the rooms that I'm in spaces that people just can't find that talent.
Mhm.
So it makes me very unique. And
Mhm.
because I've had the education, I've been able to walk comfortably into the doors, right? I'm
Mhm.
not asking to be invited anymore, and I haven't in maybe 15 years.
Right.
Now, what I will say is the people that take my courses, I do some mentoring, not much, but I do some mentoring, and I bring them with me to
Mhm.
conferences and we get our own table. So now you don't feel like the person in the back of the room, I don't know if they're going to like me. I'm near the bathroom. What do I say? What's the right terminology? Because I'm walking you right up and introducing you. So
Right.
I would say education first.
Right.
Mentorship is key.
Mhm.
Sponsorship is very much key. And I tell people all the time, a mentor and a sponsor is not the same. The sponsor is the one that's just going to put you right through because
Right.
you're ready, right? So education first, sponsor mentorship and sponsorship. And lastly, I mean, people say relationships matter, and it sounds so cliche. And I would be very honest that everyone's not gonna like you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? I'm from Brooklyn, New York. It has its own culture. It's not American culture. It just has its own culture. And for
Right.
some people, it's too much, it's too direct, it's a little extra, but it's just really who I am. But
Mhm.
I bring value to the relationship. And
Right.
that's what makes the difference. So when people tell me relationships matter, I take that one step further beyond the relationship. I say the value add to the relationship because people think relationships matter means he gotta like me. No, you
Mhm.
just might not like me,
Right.
but you're
Right.
not gonna find nobody better at what I do.
Yeah, that part.
So that relationship,
Mhm.
that status of the relationship now becomes what predominates the relationship.
Gotcha. So, with my final question, I want you to hit us with the details of the event again. And I want you to tell me three things that those who are going to attend will come away with from this event.
So again, the event is on May 31st. It's called the MayDay Trade Summit. You can get the link for the event on my website at agatesolutionsUSA.com. Just click on events. People that come to the event will walk away with these top 5 things. You will walk away with the basic solutions to help you understand the strategies to get through this time in tariffs. Not just survive, but strategies to thrive in tariffs. Okay. So if you're looking for strategies to understand what do I do first? How do I change my documents? What do I do? You will get that. There's some people that are solely interested in a global network because they're interested in getting into a global business space. You will get that there. You will get that through the panelists. You will get that through the room because the people in the room are generally importing, exporting, and doing business throughout the world, not just one particular region. You will definitely get education because I'm education first. So I will be doing some education. I will be doing some education there myself. I will teach a class there as well. You will get to meet government officials, state officials as well that can tell you about resources available to you as well. And then lastly, I'm all for good food, folks, and fun. So we will have food there, so you'll be able to eat and as well, and of course beverages as well. But I think overall, people need their morale pickup. I'm serious, and that can't always come from the turn up. Sometimes the morale kick up is that you have a solution. So overall, the Agate Trade Summit will be a solution-based forum to take the edge off the complexities of where you think you have no out, but you don't just have out, you actually have strategies to compete and win globally.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Shaq, for breaking down this critical topic and sharing your insight with our rolling out audience. It's clear that tariff literacy is economic power. So we need more voices like yours, making global trade accessible, actionable, especially for underrepresented business communities. So if you're a business owner, my audience, aspiring entrepreneur, or just someone like me who's geeky to know about other things besides what you do every day that's in our news, then don't miss her upcoming event. And as she said, head to agateSolutionsUSA.com for details and registration. And as always, keep it locked here on Locked In, on Rolling Out, where we highlight stories, we highlight our leaders in our business community and the people who are shaping our economic future. I'm Christina Steed, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much again, Shaq.